Hey everybody, and welcome back to Split Couch Games. I'm Scott,
And I'm Ben.
and this is Couch Cast number 44. And it's gonna be a little bit more of a chill episode. We're gonna kind of talk very specifically about one thing that Viper the Red asked on our last podcast, which was about microtransactions, and then we're gonna kind of go into just general feelings of pre-ordering used games, and I'm gonna add early access. Once again, Viper the Red asked that a couple weeks ago, so we're gonna touch on that.
Okay.
You all right?
Yeah, I just feel like the inclusion of early access is gonna make this a long one.
I mean, we can touch on the first two because I think we probably feel fairly similarly about those. Not much to talk about there, but
Probably.
we're gonna wing it. We're gonna go wherever the conversation takes us. Like, this is gonna be designed to go off topic. It's gonna be great.
I mean, we have to design that because I feel like it happens anyways. Kind of like
No,
right now.
But it's different this time, okay? It's different because we're planning on going off topic and we're telling everyone that it's gonna happen.
Right.
So
right,
when it
okay.
does happen, they can't get mad at us.
Okay.
Anyway.
I guess. Anyway.
So to start, Viper the Red asked us what we thought about Grand Theft Auto 5's microtransactions. And both of us, we don't really know that much about it. The only experience I have with Grand Theft Auto 5's online stuff is basically just watching Let's Plays.
I have zero experience with it. I even I played the base game for all of about 5 minutes, said I'm too old for this shit, and turned it off, uninstalled it, and sold it to a friend.
All right. I mean, this is not about the quality of game that Grand Theft Auto 5 is, because I think it's actually a pretty good game.
I mean, I'm sure it is. I just...
But anyway, yeah.
The senseless
See, we're already off
violence and
topic.
cursing every fifth word is... I was like, I don't want to deal with this. So...
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to click on. Okay. So, for those who don't know, including Ben, the way the microtransactions work is you buy shark cards, and to kind of give you a idea of the shark card prices, it's $20 for $1 million of GTA money and $100 for 8 million. Those are the two that I was able to find really quickly on the internet.
Okay.
And then what the in-game money allows you to do is you can buy... basically the big thing is that you can buy new vehicles and stuff and use them throughout the game. Like, eventually you can buy tanks and everything. Bullets and stuff will cost you money, and like guns and everything, but those are relatively super cheap. Like, maybe... I imagine the bullets are like $1,000 or whatever, and you can just get that normally through play very easily. Like, go rob some people.
Sure.
The big ticket items are the ones that I can see people having problems with, because obviously being able to call in a tank whenever you want is a big advantage if you're fighting someone else. The reason why I don't necessarily mind the microtransaction system is because a majority of the stuff on the GTA Online mode is you can do it on private servers where you're not going up against random people.
Sure.
And trolling them. Like, if you're having problems being trolled by people with the money, you just go into a private session, and it's not an issue.
And so, when it comes to the stuff that you unlock using your money, is it like you buy it once and then like you have a home base or something and you can get those things at any point in time? So like if I buy a Lamborghini equivalent, I can then just like go to my garage or whatever and get it any time without spending additional money?
I think you pay like a $1,000 delivery fee or something like that, like a super...
Oh, okay.
And like it gets dropped off to you.
Okay.
And yeah, so like it's definitely kind of extreme, but there are also like ways to earn more money. For for instance, if you like the biggest money earner, like it's not necessarily the most time efficient, but just to give you an idea, if you do all of the heist missions, there's 26 of them. If you do them all on the hardest difficulty with the same group of 4 people, and you don't die, you can fail, but you can't die. You get $10 million per player, plus all the money from the actual like heist. So
okay,
it's there are ways to get money, like a decent amount of money without spending money, because again, like $100 is 8 million in-game dollars. So there are definitely ways. Like, it's not easy, and I kind of like that system where, like, if you do these challenges, you get money. Like, I feel like that's a good way of balancing microtransactions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, like, we don't have any first-person knowledge of this. We're just kind of going off of what it sounds like, and it seems fine to me. I'm not too upset about it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on the fence just simply because, like, I haven't played it at all. So, I mean, it may be more balanced or something than what it seems like it is.
Yeah.
And, like you said, the ability to have, like, a private instance and everything. I feel like that's a major factor in that.
Yeah.
Because I do know that a lot of the appeal to Grand Theft Auto Online is, like, you know, just simply, like, doing stuff with your friends. Some people obviously enjoy the random elements and that kind of thing, but
yeah.
I don't know. There is still that, like, clear exchange of money for power. So it's not great in terms of how it sounds, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, clearly it's popular because Rockstar continues making money from their microtransactions hand over fist through that. So yeah, I feel like if it were super unfair, then there would have been more media coverage about it.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that maybe, like, some of the, you know, like, more powerful things, like the tank and that type of thing, are maybe only, like, a one-time use to help dissuade people from, like, oh, I'm going to drop $100 and buy a tank.
I don't think so. I think the one thing is that everything is locked behind levels as well. So, like, you can't buy... I don't think you can buy a tank until you're, like, level 60 or whatever. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Like, I know that, like, the Gatling gun is locked behind, like, a level 100 or something like that.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, again, that makes it a little better, because, I mean, at that point, like, you're forced to have a clear time investment. And then if you don't have the money after that time investment, which you very well could, you know, clearly, then you can spend some additional money.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that, like, as you play, I think, like, during normal play, if you play enough, like, you'll have the money to buy a few things.
Yeah.
Like, and you could go for the most powerful, you could go for the things that are most fun, and then the microtransactions probably come in if, like, you want to just add variety to your play.
Yeah, like, fill that gap, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm mixed about it personally. Like, I still am kind of in sort of like a what the fuck kind of mindset, since, like I said, there is that clear paying money for power, but...
Alright. So, anyway, so if you guys want us to actually know what we're talking about, let us know in the comments, and we will, if we get enough people commenting, I'm going to say if we get 20 people commenting saying this, which is obviously a ridiculous number for us.
And if 20 people, be the same person 20
can't be the same
times.
person 20 different times. We will do GTA Online Let's Plays.
Are you going to be buying me a copy?
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
But I'm throwing that out there because you threw out the 400 subscriber thing.
No, you did.
No,
That was you.
Was it? It was me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oops.
Anyway, the only milestone thing I've said is that I want to do a charity live stream at 500 subs.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna throw that out there. I'm throwing that out there because I kind of want to do GTA Online Let's Plays with you.
Okay.
I think it'd be fun. Anyway.
I'm only gonna kill you.
Well, I mean, of course.
Like, you and only you. Like, I will go out of my way to find you and kill you.
Well, I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter. If you guys want to see that, let us know in the comments. Anyway, we're gonna move on to our second topic. Let's talk about pre-orders, probably pretty briefly. Yeah.
Sure.
What is your general philosophy on pre-orders?
Well, I suppose for clarification purposes, are we just talking pre-orders, or are we talking, like, the culture surrounding it, including things like the way games are marketed and or pre-order exclusives?
I feel like game marketing is going to have to be its own topic at some point. So let's avoid the game marketing, and let's just go pre-order themselves, pre-order exclusives, and...
I'll say one thing about game marketing that I feel like we're going to agree on, which is just simply that when you're marketing your game, it needs to be accurate and representative of the final product. And if you're trying to market your game like 3 years in advance, and you don't have confidence that by the time it comes out, it's going to look like that or whatever, maybe don't market it then. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to pre-orders in general, both kind of like as a cultural thing and as a whether or not I think they're right and all that kind of stuff, I think for the most part they are unnecessary. If we were talking, like 15, 20 years ago when like a store legitimately needed to know how much stock they should order in, then yeah, that makes sense. But that's not really the case anymore. I mean, you and I both know that GameStop will get like, 60 some odd copies in addition to the pre-order copies.
Yeah.
So that's not really a thing anymore. I'm okay with them being a thing, but I feel like gaming culture as a whole has almost an over-reliance on them. And that's partially due to things like pre-order bonuses. Because, like, it's basically marketed to the player as, like, if you don't pre-order and if you don't get these bonuses, then you're not, like, a true fan of the franchise or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, not a great thing. But I'm kind of the mind of, like, if you want to pre-order something, then, go ahead and do it. Like, if you're a huge fan of a franchise, even if the game maybe looks mediocre, you're still gonna buy it, then go ahead and pre-order.
Yeah.
But if you're even remotely on the fence, or if it's a franchise that you're not, like, super familiar with or something like that, but it just looks really good, maybe don't actually pre-order. Let's say they announce the next Tomb Raider game or whatever, because you haven't played either of them, right?
Either of
the Tomb Raider games, sorry.
No, I have not.
Then, like, let's say, like, they announce the next one, and it looks really, 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 really good. And you ask me, hey, Ben, should I pre-order this? I would say to you that maybe you should wait, just simply because you've never played them before, so you don't know whether or not you're going to like it. And, like, the franchise as a whole, like, you're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
Now, me being a huge fan of the first two, ever since they did the reboot, you know, I would maybe feel safe in pre-ordering it. But again, like, it's always kind of that thing of, like, you know, looking at the marketing materials and trying to be as impartial and, you know, not buying into the hype is what you can be.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, like, make that objective decision, because I don't think pre-ordering is like this magical solution, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that pre-ordering is kind of outdated at this point. Especially because, like you said, GameStop is going to have the copies day one, and you can always just order it on. Most people are just going to do it on digital anyway, so like you're just going to go to your Xbox store and get it. The exception for me is that if it's a Gears game, I'm going to want to like pre-install it so that at exactly when the button's pushed to release the game, I'm able to play.
Yeah, but like, I mean that falls into the category of, you know, you're a super huge fan of the series, and even if the trailers look like garbage, you're buying it anyways. So that's really like that's what I meant. Is like it's the only exception. I just don't really pre-order games anymore. In fact, the last game that I pre-ordered that was not Gears of War. Actually, the last game that I pre-ordered was Gears of War Judgment. Well, no, that's not true.
Well, okay, Gears of War 4 was the last game I pre-ordered. Gears Judgment, I believe there was a so there were 3 games that I pre-ordered at one time. It was Call of Duty Black Ops 1. No, it was Call of Duty game. No, yeah, it was Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
Yeah, because that would have been around the same time, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Gears of War Judgment and Assassin's Creed 3. I got boned super hard on those pre-orders.
Yeah. See, but I mean, honestly, that's a perfect example of why you shouldn't be willing to look at your favorite franchises in a light of maybe this won't be a good game.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the same thing could be extended, you know, for some people to Mass Effect Andromeda. I personally really enjoyed it, and I feel like a lot of the, you know, hate that it was given was simply hype hate. You know, like it became popular to dislike the game for a while. Yeah. Kind of like how Fallout 4, when that first came out, it was a pretty popular opinion to dislike Fallout 4. And I kind of fell into that a little bit initially. And I recently started playing it again, and I was just kind of like, why did I ever stop playing this? Because it's a great game. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the same, like, RPG elements as what, you know, like New Vegas and Fallout 3 had, but it's still a great game. You know, I mean, at least I think so. But and that kind of more branches into the marketing thing that we said we weren't going to talk about. Yeah,
for sure. The thing is pre-order exclusives, and I want to throw like limited edition versions of the game in there as well, because I feel like that's a pre-order exclusive thing. Because for the most part, like, if you don't pre-order that, you're not going to get them. Ideally, or I guess ideally for the developers. I get them. I get why they're there, because they're basically like incentives for the retailers, like to go to a certain retailer for it. And honestly, as long as if it doesn't like actually impact the game at all, I don't care. Like, I cared a little bit for Gears 3 when they were like, oh, there were like 4 different exclusive skins. And I was kind of upset about that, and I think it was like, again, like what you were saying, is where it was kind of popular to hate the idea, so I kind of bought into the hate, and I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. Didn't give a fuck. Like, I actually never even like. I never actually put the one that I got into the game. Like I got Commando Dom, and I never actually like activated it. Redeemed, that's the word. So like it really didn't matter. And I think like that's the biggest thing is like if it actually does matter to you, you can generally find them on eBay for pretty cheap. I think like I glanced through for those and they were like $3 a piece or whatever. If there's one, like if you're a collector and you really want all the skins or whatever, there are ways to do it. And if like and the other one is if you just don't have the option for one, like let's say there's for whatever reason there's no GameStop near you.
Yeah.
You can do an online trade with someone. There's plenty of options.
Yeah. And this next point that I'm about to say is probably a little more applicable to a younger audience. Mm-hmm. But anytime a like limited edition or like collector's edition or whatever has any like physical thing that is supposed to be like functionally usable in some way, expect the quality to be absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, and I think it was Modern Warfare 2 that had the night vision goggles, I saw that, and I was also like really big into airsofting at the time.
Yeah.
And my friends and I would actually like go airsofting at night. I was like, oh, sweet, like I can maybe use these. Like they're not going to be like legit night vision. I won't be able to see for like a couple 100 yards, but like maybe I'll be able to get like 50 feet, which is all I really need.
Yeah.
I could maybe see like 4 feet in front of me with them.
Yeah.
Like my actual eyes could see better at night than what these night vision goggles could.
Yeah.
And that was something that I think it was like $150 or something. And I was like, the fact that I spent effectively $100 on this piece of garbage, really pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I for the most part I feel like developers have learned that lesson of like don't offer anything unless you can make it quality.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know that that's always the case. So
yeah, from what I know, the best example of that was the Pip-Boy for Fallout 4. I think people generally liked.
You see that they're offering that again?
Oh.
Yeah, for like the Game of the Year edition.
Nice.
There's like a Pip-Boy version.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like it seemed like a cool idea.
Yeah.
I would never use it, but it seems like a cool idea.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't know, it's basically like it's a Pip-Boy from Fallout. You strap it on your wrist and then you put your phone in. And you control. I think you can control stuff in the game.
Yeah, you can manage your inventory and everything from effectively your wrist. Yeah. And you can technically do it without the Pip-Boy, I think. Yeah,
I'm sure that there's just an app.
Well, I tried and I could never get it to work, but that was back when the game launched. So
okay. Yeah. All right. So that's pre-orders. I think to sum up, if you're gonna get it anyway, and like there's no reason not to, but be careful. Obviously,
do it because you want the game and you want the game because of the game. Like, don't do it just because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the important part, is that you are by no means required to pre-order, and if you're even remotely on the fence about a game, wait even just like a couple days, go to a local Target or Best Buy, whatever, and pick up a copy then. Like, if you're ever on the fence about a game, wait, like check out some of the reviews. Maybe, if there's a popular YouTuber that is going to play it, maybe like watch the first couple episodes of their Let's Play and then go out and buy it or something. Yeah.
Plenty of options. And then if you end up buying the physical disc, you can then, if you end up not liking it, you can turn around and sell it into the used game markets.
That
And
is very
then
true.
is what is called a segue, as we go into talking about used games.
Was that on the docket?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was pre-orders, used games, and then I added early access.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
Well, yeah. So we're going to talk about used games super quick because we kind of touched on it in the past. But I think the used game market has its place. I think that you and I kind of both I think you and I both understand, and maybe other people don't understand quite as much, that the used game market kind of screws over the developers a little bit.
It screws them over a lot, especially if used games of a brand new game are being sold. You know, like let's say within the first week of a game coming out, GameStop gets in like 40 copies of that game. You know, like maybe it wasn't very popular, or maybe that's just kind of how the dice rolled, whatever. They're going to then turn around and sell those for practically a new game price, you know, at like $55 instead of $60.
Yeah.
And then GameStop pockets all of that. So,
yeah. Well, not. Yeah, all of the 55, but they still have to pay like 30 or whatever.
Sure.
For the actual copy.
My point was that like none of that money goes to the developer of the game.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
And I don't know, like you said, the used game market has its place because there are, you know, a lot of people out there that can't afford to buy games, you know, brand new and that kind of thing. Yeah. You know, maybe some people just don't see the logic in buying games brand new because they simply don't have the time to play them, so they're constantly behind in terms of like what's coming out and that kind of thing, which is totally fine. I mean, heck, I'm pretty much at that point myself. I like to keep denying it, but you know, I'm there.
Yeah. Even I'm there, and I don't even play that many games.
You aren't allowed to say that. You spend like fucking 30 hours a week playing Gears of War PvP.
It seems a little high, but
It's probably accurate.
I can't categorically deny that that's true. But it's a little high.
Regardless, that's plenty of time that you could have spent playing other games.
Absolutely.
So you don't get to say that.
You know.
No, you
don't get to say it.
Anyways.
Anyway, yeah, I think that like you said, there's no direct benefit to the developers, but there is like a small advantage, is that the cheaper games allow, especially for multiplayer games, it allows for the online community to grow more, like, and so that's a good thing. Like there's like hidden, all I'm saying is that like, there's hidden benefits in there to cheaper used games.
Yes and no, because I mean, you have to remember how GameStop works, because I mean, realistically, GameStop is like the only place that you can buy effectively brand new used games.
Best Buy does it.
Oh, they still do that? I thought they stopped a while ago because of some lawsuit or something.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Whatever. Anyways, so GameStop and maybe Best Buy and probably some like local chains and that kind of stuff are really the only places that you can get used games. But for the most part, you know, by and large, GameStop is where people go because, you know, it's likely that they have used copies of new games. And something that you're forgetting about when you say like it'll help populations grow and everything is that if a game is popular, that used game price isn't really going to drop low enough to be beneficial to someone looking for a deal. Not really.
Well, yeah.
And if it does, then chances are the game isn't that popular to begin with, which means that's not really going to be that much of a benefit to the developer.
Yeah, I suppose it's true. Like, I'm not saying that like that in and of itself is like a huge thing. I think it's a small factor. Maybe it's like it'll grow the fan base by like 1%, right? Like not a huge amount. But, and I had like a couple others that I can't remember now for some reason. But like, there's a few like hidden advantages there that does actually help. I don't think that it outweighs the negatives of not getting any money from the sales, but like it's not all bad is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest benefit that used games have is just simply, like, culturally speaking, it allows games to be put in the hands of more people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Oh,
I remember one. I think that this is more for like older used games, like that are like over a year old, but it kind of gives like when like a new game in a series is announced, you can kind of like you can go to the store, buy the older game that's been out for a year for like $30, give it a try, see if you're gonna like the new game. It's sort of like a extended demo of the series or whatever. So I don't think it's all that bad. I don't think like anyone who buys used should feel bad or uses the used game market, because like you said, sometimes
I'm not really like the biggest proponent of used games. Like, I mean, I'm of the mindset that like they're terrible for the games industry. You know, they take money away from developers and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I buy them.
I do it. Like,
well, and I mean, it's because it saves me money. You know, I mean, if I were in a better financial place, then maybe I wouldn't do it. But
yeah, so I mean,
do as I say, not as I do, young grasshopper.
But anyway, that's pretty much like all I wanted to say about that. Is like Ben said, it's not great for the developers, but it's good for the consumers, and sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
All right, early access. We're gonna try to get through this within 6 minutes.
Okay.
So,
early access is tricky, I think, personally, because on one hand, I think it can do great things, but on the other, I feel like some games never leave early access.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing.
Yep.
And then you also have kind of like the in-between where, like, We Happy Few looked like a really, really great game. And when it came out on early access, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that, when it came out on early access on Xbox, like I, downloaded it right away, played it, and I was just instantly turned off. And I mean, like, I knew that the game wasn't done. Like, this was only just supposed to be like a loose representation of what it would end up being, but like it wasn't the type of game I was looking for anymore.
Yeah.
So, I was just kind of like, okay, well, that's good, I guess, because it saves me money, but I also feel like seeing it in such an early state was part of that opinion.
Yeah. And I think that like that's the biggest thing, is that when a developer does early access, I think there still has to be a level of polish.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people
they should have
don't.
like. Yeah. I was just gonna say they should have, like what developers call like a vertical slice, where like you have a nice like polished version of your game from like start to finish basically, but it's only like a small section. So like you could experience all of the elements to a certain extent, but like it's not the entire game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that like that works okay, so just to throw this out there, if it's a single player experience, I don't understand early access. Because a single player experience needs to be crafted, or not needs to be, but should be crafted to exact, like it should be just perfect, like the perfect experience. Sure. It should be as crafted as possible. So like you do early access for that, then you run the risk of, because We Happy Few was a single player game, right?
Yeah.
And like because it wasn't crafted, it turned you off.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure that there were other things, but like,
well, I mean, I feel like that was part of it. But the majority of the reason that I was dissuaded from being interested in it was that like the initial trailers and everything gave it like a very BioShock-esque kind of feel. and that's not what the game, like, that's what maybe the first like 5 minutes of the game is. And then everything after that is like this weird like open world kind of experience.
Okay.
Yeah, it still doesn't make sense to me. And I mean, like I said, I was playing a super early version of the game.
Yeah.
So there could have been like that disconnect of like, well, this doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel good because you don't have the context. And that very well could have been it, but I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So like, I feel like single player, you got to be really careful. I would just say don't do it in early access. But the like most recently, obviously PUBG, huge or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. For those who don't know what PUBG is wildly successful. It's like
it's sold like
7 million copies now.
Yeah.
And it's in early access. And I think like the reason why it was so successful was that like, sure, like it was super buggy and like not like super buggy, but there were bugs and there was also, it was not optimized at all. So like, even my relatively new, I can't say brand new anymore because it's been like a year, but relatively new PC was just chugging trying to run that when I first tried to play. Like,
jeez.
It was rough because it was not optimized at all. It's since gotten better, but like the base game worked as intended, and it was like, this is a representation of what we're going for. We just got to fix the bugs, add some new features, and like it's gonna be good.
They had that nice vertical slice.
Yeah.
I
do want to say that it was a complete experience, though. Like, I think that like they could have released the game if they had taken like what they had, just fixed a few of the major bugs, like some crashing issues and the optimization. They could have released that and people would have been happy.
Yeah.
So I think like it is a complete experience, and I feel like that's one of the things. It doesn't, like, your early access title doesn't need to be a complete experience, but it needs to be enough to where it's like because you don't want to give away everything in early access, because early access is supposed to be like you're still developing and you're taking input from the community, but it needs to be like you need to have put effort into the original thing,
sure,
to inspire confidence. And the other thing that PUBG does really well is that, and they're going to tune this back to longer cycles, but to start, it was every month they released a new feature dump, basically.
Yeah.
But they're now they're like, okay, that's kind of causing us to break things, so we're taking a little bit more time in between updates. But consistently updating, it kind of gives that sense that like, oh yeah, we're gonna get out of this early access window.
Yeah.
And
anyways, I feel like we could probably talk about this for a lot longer, honestly.
I mean, let's go for just an hour and a half podcast, dude.
If that's the case, you're editing it.
I think if that was the case, neither of us were editing anything, and we're just gonna upload it.
Well, I mean, I'm only saying that just because it would take my computer like 2 days to render out an hour and a half video. So
it's Ben's render farm. You know, it's a crazy number.
What?
The I don't know how true this number was, but like the first Transformers movie, any frame that had a Transformers in it, like a Transformer in it, took like 2 days to render.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's what happens when every fucking surface refracts light.
Yeah.
Or refracts and or reflects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really good looking movie. Just saying. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to end this for Ben because he's going to shoot me if we go any longer. If you guys want us to keep talking about early access, if you guys have any specific questions about anything that we talked about, let us know down in the comments. I got really angry there for no reason, but let us know down in the comments, and we will most likely answer, because for whatever reason the news has been very limited in terms of video game news recently.
I feel like a lot of the world is distracted for political reasons.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. But anyway, we'll see you guys next time with Split Couch Games.
Bye.
Bye.